Today on the TMZ Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the TMZ Podcast. I'm Charlie Cotton and joining me today is Lothario lawyer Derek Kaufman.
Always in full effect. Let's do this.
Let's do this. We got you in because we got some dense legal stories, including Diddy.
Why do you always bring me in for the sex assault stories? I know when you invite me to the pod, you're like, somebody got sued for sexual assault.
Right. Well, it's happening a lot right now, especially to Diddy. Yep. You know, once it rains, it pours with these sort of things. And he is now being accused by a guy, his ex-producer, videographer, Rodney Jones. So we'll talk about that. Taylor Swift's dad is also under investigation for allegedly attacking an Aussie pap. Pretty close to my heart.
Yeah, I got views on that.
Joe Mangeniello's new girlfriend is giving us the glimpse we wanted behind the scenes of the Today Show, the dressing room where Kelly Rowland stormed out. We're seeing what it's like. And we'll end with Almost News, everybody's favorite segment. Oh, stay tuned for that one.
This feels newsy. Go ahead.
So Diddy, God, man, he's having a rough time, but allegedly, deservedly so, because now he's being sued by someone else, a former videographer for Diddy. He worked with him on his latest album from September 2022 to November 2023. This guy, Rodney Jones, alleges that Diddy would grope his genitals and touch his anus. Diddy would allegedly walk around naked in front of Jones and would downplay all the assaults as horseplay.
Yeah, these are salacious allegations. I read a lot of these. This one is very thick. I think it was a 70-page lawsuit. It's filled with pictures and text messages. It's a kitchen sink. And he's name-dropping all over the place. This is a guy named Rodney Jones who filed this lawsuit, and he's saying, you know, Stevie J is involved and Cuba Gooding Jr. It really just sounds like he emptied the files, and he's been thinking about this for a long time. When I see a lawsuit like this, it's not sort of direct and specific or focused necessarily. I often think this sounds like we're going to have to do some digging on it. And Diddy and his son, who's also sued, Justin Combs, his son, have said this is entirely baseless. Their attitude about these allegations is not to pick and choose. This is an overstatement. This is a lie. This has some truth. It's this guy's shaking us down for $30 million, which is what he sued for, and none of it's true. And they lawyered up. They got Sean Hawley, who is a hotshot lawyer, very, very good defense attorney. And I don't know what to make of this. When I see a lawsuit like that, you think, oh, it's got so much specificity. Maybe it's true, but I look at it and I just sort of raise my eyebrows a bit.
I agree that it's just a kitchen sink type everything. But because Diddy is so, at the center of so many different claims right now, especially the one with Cassie, his ex that kicked it all off, who also sued him for $30 million.
Yes.
And claimed a lot of these other sort of these parties that happened, these prostitutes that come over. So I guess.
And then it was quickly settled, right? Which made people think, whoa, he just didn't want this to sort of look under the rug and see all the nastiness.
And there have been other women since Cassie to come forward. This is the first guy, and it's almost like he's using some dot points from the previous allegations, like that these parties happened and that these crazy things happened. And so it's hard to rule it out entirely because it's almost like his story is corroborated by previous accusers.
Now, this cuts both ways, though, right? Because Cassie filed the lawsuit with so much detail about his lifestyle and sex parties and so forth, that's a publicly filed lawsuit. Even though they settled it, that exists out there in the world. And it's if you are an unscrupulous person trying to shake Diddy down, and I'm not saying whether Rodney Jones is telling the truth or not, that type of lawsuit also provides a roadmap of the types of allegations that'll look similar to other ones and might have some more believability because of that. So it's not clear that it corroborates those old ones. It's clear that it looks like them.
Right.
And I'm not sure whether it looking like them is proof that it's true or proof that this is the way you sue Diddy and now he's a popular target and he's under assault. Obviously, Diddy has a fancy lawyer who's going to say, look, he's just a target. This is a guy worth 9 figures. And so there's a lot of money there. So people sue for these eye-popping amounts. It doesn't make any of the allegations true. And that's why we have a legal system, right? To play this out. There's got to be evidence. It can't just be a complaint. A complaint is step one. Here's these pictures. He's going to say, that picture's false. That's not me. I've already heard Stevie J has come out and
pictures
say,
are one thing.
That's not even me in the photo. That's a porn star. So there's going to be a lot of stuff that comes out in the course of this being litigated, unless it settles quickly like Cassie. We'll have to see.
Yeah. I mean, if the pictures are the best evidence, that's evidence that they were together. Like, they were in the same room together.
But a lot of people have been with Diddy.
Right.
I do want to note that there's an LAPD investigation that's mentioned in the lawsuit that there was a shooting that went down maybe near the studio and someone was shot in the gut. He paints a sort of chaotic picture of like dangerous parties.
Mm.
The LAPD did investigate that shooting. They reportedly found that this happened outside the studio and then the guy ran in with a gunshot wound. So,
But they were told to lie to police that had happened.
right.
Is what Rodney says.
That's right. So now we're getting into the realm of, I don't want to call it conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat, but he's having to explain other explanations for what officials said actually happened, and they were told to lie. That's a hard burden. I will say he can prove it. Maybe the cops were lying, but it starts to feel like he's got a lot to get over.
Right. Okay. On to our next story. Taylor Swift's father, Scott Swift, he is under investigation for allegedly assaulting a paparazzi in Sydney, Australia. So they were coming home from one of her shows, which was in Homebush, where the Sydney Olympics were.
Yeah. Tell me about the Sydney scene. Is it crowded? It's a very densely packed city with lots of paps, or no?
I have never been a paparazzi in Sydney. In fact, I'm not even a paparazzi in America. I'm a field reporter.
That's exactly right. I always call you a field reporter, by the way. I think it besmirches your integrity.
It does.
It's like calling me an ambulance chaser. I'm a lawyer.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So what I assume happened is they hopped on a boat or a ferry or some sort of like yacht by the show, which is in Homebush where the Olympics is, and then they take the boat around and then dock it on Sydney's North Shore, really nice area where the parents or Taylor must have been staying. And so when they dock the boat and get off, there's a couple Aussie paps waiting for them. Big shot.
Yeah.
Taylor's not in Australia very often.
Only natural, yeah.
And so they're waiting for her, and she walks out under an umbrella and with Scott by her side. And so the paps kind of catch a bit of the start, but when the scuffle or alleged incident happens, the cameras are kind of like...
They're jostling.
They're jostling
so you don't
around.
know what's happening.
You don't know what's happening. So the pap went to the
pap, by the
police.
way, is a 51-year-old man. Scott Swift is a 71-year-old man. I think that's relevant, but we'll get into whether you think that's relevant.
Right. Well, he went to the cops and filed a complaint. There was no sort of injuries. He didn't have to go to hospital. But now he's probably wanting Scott to cough up some money to make this go away.
Hey, look, and it's possible, we don't know exactly what happened because the video is unclear, but it's possible that 71-year-old Scott Swift got into dad mode. And you're a dad, I'm a dad. You would be protective if you feel like someone's imperiling your daughter. If Peach is out there and they're jostling around and it could hurt Nixie or your daughter, we would snap into focus. Like, I'm not a fighter, I'm a lover, but,
You can't touch someone, though.
Mary's more likely to sort of mama bear it, and I'll push her out into the forefront. But, like, this is possible that it happened, but he's also a target. Like, so he's also 71. This 51-year-old guy, it's a rough and tumble world being a pap. There is a lot of physicality, and it sounds like he might just want to, like, run to the cops because someone as rich and famous as Swift's dad jostled him around. I'm not saying he's lying, but these are things that go through people's minds.
Right. I mean, paps can be over aggressive and annoying and that sort of stuff, but also bodyguards and people who like are there trying to protect the celebrity can also be overzealous.
That's right.
The thing is, you just can't lay hands on anyone.
Yeah, now
you can't push anyone. You can't whack anyone with an umbrella. You can't make contact with someone unless
you're defending yourself or others.
Well, unless the paparazzi is making some sort of aggressive physical thing towards you.
Yes.
So it'll be interesting to see how this shakes out if there's any other video that corroborates either of their stories.
Now, you mentioned bodyguards, and that could be that Scott didn't touch him and he was just behind the fray. It's not entirely clear that as a civil suit, he'd be in the clear if a bodyguard acted sort of aggressively at his behest. He said, if anyone gets close to my daughter, knock him out. We see those lawsuits all the time. He's responsible for his employees. If he directed them to do something, he could also be in trouble in that way. We just don't know the facts here. But I do know that you've been in pap crushes, right? Is that what they're called? Is that the term of art?
They're actually called a gangbang.
Oh, interesting. I always thought that was something else.
No, yeah, right, no.
I always had another definition for that. But where they're all around, you're jostled around, and you're not a huge guy, but you have to kind of steal your nerves, right?
With other paps, if I'm trying to get to the position, yeah, maybe. But
you're a slippery little weasel.
Right.
I bet you just slide under
I
it.
do. It's all about with the angles you take, for sure. But I also have confronted a lot of overzealous bodyguards who just think it's their job to teach you a lesson. And I'm just here trying to ask a question, and I'm not trying to get in their face at all. I'm just, if you don't want to talk to me or don't want to be seen, all good, but don't touch me, don't whack my camera, don't
Right.
this is a freedom of the press type thing.
Of course. They want to make an example, show you that they're not willing to take anything, so no one else messes with them. But you're right. You don't keep your hands off of people.
So this might be a case of an overzealous good bodyguard, but why then is Scott being named as the,
we don't know. The video is maybe the allegation is they were directed by Scott and Scott said sick 'em. Maybe the allegation is that Scott, actually got physical. We don't know from the video, but the police report would lay this out, at least what the allegation is, and then Scott can say absolutely untrue. Here's this other video. There's a lot of cameras around.
Right.
There may be more video of this that will clarify what went on. I don't think he's going to get in much trouble. The guy wasn't hurt, so it's not like a serious assault. But you're not allowed to touch people. So if he did so, he broke a law.
Also, fun fact or not fun fact, Nicole Kidman has been granted a restraining order against this same pap. So that's kind of a pattern of bad
maybe
behavior.
an MO. Yeah, it certainly would become relevant if this goes far enough down the road. But maybe you cut him a little check. I mean, Taylor Swift is worth $1 billion. Unless they want to make an example that we're not to be messed with and don't file false reports, maybe they just say, here's 10 grand.
Right,
Leave us
right.
alone. Who knows?
Okay, on to our next story. Joe Manganiello has a new girlfriend, and she has given us a glimpse behind the scenes of the Today Show. That dressing room that got Kelly so hot, made her storm out of the Today Show, and has refused to talk about it ever since. And that is the reason this story persists, because she won't say anything about it.
We're doing like this deep investigation of the quality of the Today Show's dressing rooms and makeup rooms. And now it's wild to me that this matters at all. It doesn't excuse Kelly's conduct in any realm. If she misbehaved because she was upset, it's sort of diva-like behavior. It's behind the scenes. Your makeup chair and your dressing room don't need to be so swanky, do they? Am I missing something?
No. And from looking at these photos, they look about exactly what I would expect behind the scenes of a TV show to look like. It's not all glamorous. It's not all,
But it's also not like rat infested and disgusting. It's just a dressing room. It's not meant to be on camera. So the resources of these shows are put for the stuff that's on camera, right? Like you build the set of Cheers, and then if you ever seen a set outside of it, it's like scaffolding and plywood. Yeah, because it's not on camera. Who cares?
Exactly. Kelly has so misplayed this whole thing. Like, yes, storming off is one thing, but not addressing it or apologizing or giving some sort of excuse like you were just having a bad day or something. Her just continuing, and journalists ask her about it, and she goes, I do not want to talk about it. And that just perpetuates the news cycle on it.
Agree.
Why are we talking about it again 2 weeks later? A dressing room.
I hate agreeing with you, but you're 100% right. This made the news cycle. She could have just said, I had a bad day, not my finest moment.
Right.
And it's a 24-hour news cycle of, she was a diva, and then we stopped caring because she fell on the sword. We still care. Now we're looking at Caitlin O'Connor looking in the background of makeup rooms to determine whether Kelly behaved okay. It's wild. And she has misplayed this, or her people around her have helped her misplay it. I don't know what I would say other than just address it. It's fine. She didn't kill somebody. She complained about a dressing room and stormed out. We've all had unflattering moments, myself included.
Right. They should do like an HGTV episode making up this dressing room. Like, that would be fun. Like a little studio renovation show.
I completely agree. I also think it is a little window into these celebrities really want to be coddled, And Kelly Rowland, we always thought was the nicest person in the world. And maybe she is sweet and was having a bad moment, but goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Like, to storm out because you didn't like the style of your green room is pretty beyond.
It is. Okay. Almost news time. Ray J and his wife on the rocks again.
Fourth time's a charm.
Because Princess Love has filed for divorce for the fourth time. They've never really gone through with it, but for the fourth time. So
I think they're 2 and 2, right? Like, he filed twice, and this is her second filing. But tell me why this one seems like the death knell. Or you don't buy it? Because I actually think we're done here.
Is it because of the kids? Is that what you're saying?
It's the lengthy statement. It's the
Let me read it.
After much reflection kind of statement.
It is with heavy hearts that we share the news of our decision to divorce after much reflection, discussion, and counseling. We have come to the difficult realization that our paths have diverged, and it is in the best interest of both of us to part ways.
We've seen the reflection because impulsively they filed 3 times before this and reconciled, right? So I do think they are beyond crying wolf or Chicken Little, sky is falling. They got to follow through with this. It's almost like you guys don't get to do this anymore, so just get the divorce. If you want to get remarried, we'll allow that. But you got to finish this one up. We got to see a divorce judgment and a separation of assets and so forth, because people are just tired of this. And I do think they're tired. What I read from this statement is this ain't working. I mean, there's a reason we've tried to file 3 times and make it work. It doesn't work.
I say we go for double digits.
Shoot for the stars, man. I'm not thinking
so.
big enough. They also love co-parenting. It does sound like they're very close to their kids. So that's the sliver of reconciliation I see, because divorce sucks for kids. It just does. Having a 2-parent household, I think most people would agree, is preferable. It's not the only way you can raise good family. By far from it. I was raised by a single mother, but
look how that turned out.
It is ideal if you can make it happen. Wow, I wasn't expecting that to drive by. So I hope they work it out, actually, but it is. I think it's done.
I think probably so too. But they'll both move on to bigger and better.
Way to have an uplifting. Segment, man.
I know, but let's hope they don't get divorced then, and then maybe it's a good news story.
Yeah, 5.
5. Let's go for 5. Okay, thank you for joining me, Derek.
All right,
and we'll see you guys here tomorrow. Goodbye.